Hi, Varun.
Yes, hi guys, we're this side. Yusuf is watching me on the Shan show. Shan's my very pretty favorite singer. You know, like Tanha Dil, Tanha Safar is very pretty. Oh, it's not that Shan. Yes, hi Shan. Nice to meet you.
For me, Varun has always been the funniest guy, a college friend, and someone that we've been through so much. Someone I've known for ages, but today's candid conversation is one that you're gonna love. We spoke about everything from his acting to his writing to his comedy and what it's like to start all on your own. Starting with an open mic one day, and here he is, a successful actor, writer, and comedian. We're talking about the creative industry, how to get in there, how to start, and the kind of things that he did. I hope you enjoyed this interview because I absolutely loved it. Hi, guys, and welcome to another episode of The Shan Show. Really excited to have a very, very close friend this time. Very excited because this is as real as it gets. It's one of my closest friends from college. Varun, lovely to have you here.
Hi Shan.
So Varun is a writer, actor, and comedian, as everyone knows him. He's done a bunch of fabulous movies, recently a Netflix show as well, a YouTube channel also with more than a huge number of subscribers. I'm not going to tell you how many, check it out. And he's created so many shows which are now on OTT platforms. Varun, thank you for being on my first season of the Shan Show.
Of course, Shan. I think you're starting this 2 years too late. You should have done this a long time back because if there's one person I know who should be doing this and who would kill at it is you. So I'm glad that you're finally doing it and I'm so happy that we are here. I wish we were doing this in person and not over Zoom, but hey, you have to keep up with the times.
Yes, make people laugh over online interviews. But Varun, since, of course, everyone knows you as the funny guy. And throughout our college life, you made us laugh and laugh and laugh even more. We were like just falling down laughing. I think my mom has also heard all your jokes and is a huge fan. But tell me how this began. You started as a comedian, then a writer. You've done a bunch of movies and you're on Netflix. So tell me more about this.
So in fact, it started the opposite way. I actually started first as a writer because I didn't think comedy was a legitimate career option in India, right? Because compared to the West, we're probably about 50 years behind in terms of when they started. Also for us, like you had a certain sect of people who were not sect, but like a section of people who were doing stand-up. So there would be a lot of Hindi comedy. You had the John Levers and the Raju Srivastava. I mean, all my idols growing up. And they're fantastic. But as a person, I never thought I'd be able to do that. You know, I still can't do what they do. But comedy was never on the top of my mind as a career option. So it was always like I always wanted to act. I love performing. So the whole aspect of being in front of camera or being on stage was always in me. I always loved doing that. But it's not like people were waiting saying, hey, come, we have a movie for you. So you sort of had to make your own inroads. So I started with writing. I was about 16, I think, when I started writing for MTV, Channel V, etc. And I was writing a lot of funny shows. I think that's when the little sense of humor started taking shape, right? I also have extremely funny parents. I think a lot of my humor comes from them. You know, they're both really funny people in their own way. So once you are sort of surrounded with an environment where people are constantly joking, laughing, you take to it a lot more faster. And then obviously, like you mentioned, it was all you guys. It was just all my friends who I would sit and chat and laugh with, who gave me the sort of push and courage to go forward and do it. Right. But it's a different story making friends laugh and a completely different story sort of making people you've never met laugh.
Absolutely.
So I think all credit goes to my friends for being absolutely supportive and like sort of pushing me to go and do it. Because, you know, if I hadn't done it, I would never reach at this point. And it's all you guys who pushed me for it. I did my first open mic and I won it. So that's when it sort of hit me that, okay, listen, you know, there were about 200 people in the crowd. You knew 50 of them because I go with a big crew always. But still there were 150 other people who had no idea who you were and you made them laugh. So there is something. So you should sort of explore that. So for me, the first night I did comedy that I won, the next day I left to shoot my first film. So for me, like both journeys sort of started simultaneously. You know, like early before that I was writing, I went abroad to study filmmaking. So I was sort of doing everything possible. And then like it was one day, 31st October 2010, 11, 10, I think it's 10, shit. I think 10 or 11, I'm confused, was when I did my first open mic. And 1st November, I left to shoot my first film. So it started together at the same time. And I think what it really does for me is it, like, each side of my career sort of complements the other. The day I have a good show, when I go on set the other time, I'm excited. I have this energy inside me. Same way when I do a good audition, that evening, if I'm going and doing a show, I kill at the show. So it's both these sides of my profession that sort of complement each other. And yeah, that's how it started. And literally now I don't stick to one specific thing. I go for gold. So whether it's creating my own show, like I did Shaitan Haveli on Amazon Prime, that was me creating this show from scratch because nobody's giving me acting jobs, right? So I'm like, I got to do something. And that's when I use my forte, which is comedy, my background in filmmaking, to give it that structure, and then sort of put it together and made a show on an OTT platform that I'm acting in. So
that was one of my questions actually for you. So tell us more about Shaitan Haveli. What was the experience of creating your own show and acting in it?
So, that also stemmed from when I was really young, right? When I was 10, 12 years old, I used to watch a lot of these Bollywood B movies, okay? That would show up on these rando channels on TV. And it would be funny because they're not scary, right? It's just, they're taking like those fake teeth from Maganlal Dresswala, like the ghost come, like that. It's just got a lot of unnecessary sleaze. And it's just so, it's low budget. So I would watch a lot of those and laugh. So there was this, like, a little grain of an idea inside my head that, it would be great to make a show or a film which is about the making of such films. So this is an idea I had when 16 years old, I think. Obviously, over the years, I tried to peddle it across different times. And then eventually, I think about 4 years ago, I said, because Amazon was then looking for ideas. They had just sort of come into the market and they were looking for different concepts to sort of back. And I found out from my managers they're doing this. So I just put together a one-pager. I got two of my friends, Chirag Mahabal and Kautuk, to come on board to help me flesh it out. And the rest is history. I mean, I still can't believe that one random idea I had at 16 years old takes shape almost 10, 12 years later and is now an actual show on a very big OTT platform. So,
I mean, kudos to you. It's not easy. Like, I'll tell you, seeing you, and like today, when I've spent so much time with you, I know you're funny, I know you can create, I know you can, but like you said, those are your friends.
Right.
What about the million other people out there, and I mean, we'll talk about the trolls later, but when you launch something, there's always someone waiting to say something, right?
Correct.
Kudos to you, and it's on an OTT platform, so that's amazing.
Yay.
But I know the one question when I told a few people that I'm interviewing you was obviously tell us about Vicky Malhotra.
I have created a monster.
I mean, my mother calls you Vicky, and when she's introducing you to people, she says, what is the comedian Malhotra? I'm like, that's not his real name. I was in college with him for long enough for people to know his real name. So how did Vicky Malhotra and my favorite character, his father, come about?
No, so I'll tell you, it's so funny because we live in such a crazy time that now you don't need to be a big filmmaker's son or need to have too many contacts to be able to make a name or carve your own niche or identity, right? You look at the YouTubers nowadays, there's so many of them who are doing a kick-ass job. There are people who literally have a phone, right? That's all they have. They sit at home and they make videos and they have like 2, 3, 4 million followers. So it's incredible how we're living in that time. I think the reason why Vicky also spread was that where I was very stagnated with whatever I was doing. It was 2015, I remember. And I'm like, it's not fun. I'm not having fun. And this is not working. And that is not working. And I want to do this, that. But there was no streamlined thought. And at that point in time, my manager's like, listen, what I've observed? A lot of people are doing characters abroad. They're doing fun characters. So I think you should do a character. Now, I was like, okay, that's not a bad idea. And right before I started Vicky, I used to do Vines, if you remember, the 7-second videos. So I think the habit of shooting stuff on your phone and creating content sort of started with that.
Yeah.
And while I was doing it, I had created a Vicky character, but it wasn't as developed. It was just a douche. It was a douchebag who thinks he's the center of the world. He's an extremely chauvinist guy, so it was this character I had in mind. So I said, cool, I'll do it. So I literally shot it as me. And then when watching it, I'm like, I'm not feeling it because it's still my face. It's not hitting, because when people know me, they'll be like, ye Varun hai, but he's talking weirdly.
Yeah.
So I was like, what do I do? What do I do? And that's when Snapchat came along.
Yeah.
Because Snapchat has this face swap option. So I said, you know what? Let me try that. And I literally went on Google and I typed Punjabi male model and I hit enter. Okay, I'm not even kidding. And obviously, like 100 pictures showed up. I saved all of them, and one by one on Snapchat, I kept checking which face fits. And I think this guy was number 32 or 33. And as soon as I put this guy's face, something about it just struck. I was like, yeah, you know what? It's this guy. And then I started talking like this, and I just realized that if you talk weirdly, people love listening to you. You know.
Yeah. It was like an overnight sensation. Like people went. I know I've been with you at places, and people are like, "Hey, talk like Vicky, na."
Yeah, literally.
What's wrong with them? But I know that I think it's also the content. It's not only Vicky; it was your content at that point, which fit
Right.
the character so well.
Right.
The Masters been waiting for the last 3 days to find out the results of the US elections. Like seriously, how long is this shit show gonna go on? You know, why don't you just do like rock, paper, scissors and finish it off?
And then you brought on his dad. You
बच्चों मतलब मैं बहुत एक्साइटेड हूँ कि आप लोग 1 महीने की छुट्टी पे जा रहे हो हाँ मतलब you guys deserve a break.
Yeah.
like his dad having pots of money.
Correct. Also relatability, like Shan, like you or anybody watching a video has met a Vicky in their life. I think that's where the connection becomes even stronger.
Yeah.
Like we know, are related to, are friends with, or have encountered a specific type of Vicky person.
Absolutely.
Right? I just have an even more exaggerated version, which I'm told sometimes it's even honest, because people have met what I think is exaggerated. People are like, no, dude, I've met exactly people who talk like this. So
I've definitely met some real life people.
yeah, so that relatability really hit home. Obviously, like the dynamic between the son and the father. I had people tell me that, hey bro, Vicky's talking very badly to his father, I feel bad for him. And I had to just shake these people. I'm like, guys, Vicky is me. Even the dad is me. You know, these aren't real people. so it was fun to just see like a random idea that took shape one day. This morning I woke up and I stood in front of my wardrobe and I just made a Vicky video. I sent it to a few people. I got a mixed response. And people were like, yeah, it works. Some people are like, And I said, you know what? I'm just going to put it. Let's see what happens. And I put it. And then I said, I'm going to put one every day. I kept putting one every day. And I think by the time it was the 10th or the 12th video, I could actually see a visible increase in following. A lot more messages coming in, emails coming in. You know, when my friends are messaging me, they're like, hey, what's up? Or what are you doing this side? You know, shit like that.
Yeah.
So then you start seeing that it's actually working out. Then you had Bollywood celebrities doing it. I remember you messaged me once saying, Ranveer is doing Vicky.
It's a great time. We're very much excited here. Let's just hang out in Paris. It's a great city. It's a beautiful, sexy city with a lot of sexy chicks.
I'm like, oh, what? Ranveer is doing Vicky? I remember going and checking it, and they were promoting some movie, and they spoke about Vicky and Malika Dua's character, which was the makeup Didi.
Yeah.
So we both sort of had that upward swing at that point.
Yeah.
And it just sort of made me realize that, you know, in today's day and age, anything is possible.
Yeah.
You know, if you have an idea, no idea is a bad idea.
Yeah.
Right? You just have it. All you have to do is go out and just put it out and be consistent with it, and you will find an audience. Whether it's a big audience, it's a niche audience, you will find your audience. And plus, the more you do it, the better you get at it. Right? If you see my first few Wikis, you can see I'm a little rough around the edges. But then you watch the 20th video, you see there's a story that's coming into place. You watch the 40th video, you know about Vicky's past. You know about his dad's past. You know their interpersonal relationship, their outlook. So, I mean, I literally have reached a point where I can lead a simultaneous life as Vicky. I literally can.
I mean, I totally agree, because like, even me, for example, right? Even if I was watching the Vicky videos and someone introduces themselves to me and says, myself, so and so, the first thing I think of is you.
Yeah.
Like, this is me, this side. I'm like,
Right.
this is Vicky.
Right.
You know, so it's amazing, like, because you mentioned one point in your earlier answer, which was, every person has a smartphone. Every person has a phone.
Yeah.
I mean, a person sitting anywhere can create content which is getting them 2 million, 3 million followers.
Correct.
So I think, like you said, any idea is not a bad idea. It's just
Yeah.
how you execute it and how far you take it.
Correct.
And you did
Absolutely.
that so well with Vicky. And I know people miss Vicky. And I'm sure people, you get messages, think do some
Yeah.
Vicky content.
Yeah. Always honestly, Shan, at one point, I think it surpassed Varun. And that was sort of scary, because you're like, guys, even Vicky is me only. Vicky is not another person.
Yeah.
But, you know, I sort of purposely hold back, because it's 5 years to that character. Usually people retire the character. or people sort of tend to get bored because you've seen it many times.
Yeah.
And I was worried that would happen with Vicky. So what I started doing is I purposely started reducing it a little bit. Now I put it when I find something that's funny, when I think of something that's extremely funny, only then will I put it out. Otherwise, I sort of hold back because I don't want Vicky to get more work and not me.
Absolutely agree. Okay, but tell me, I want to ask you, what's your creative process like? Like, do you have a creative process? And I understand when you start a movie, it's like getting into character. But what's the creative process of a comedian? Like before you go on a show,
Right.
you practice jokes?
I think yes, I do. I rehearse jokes, but when as comics, you are constantly working. It's not hectic work, but whether I'm at a party, I'm at a dinner, I'm at a function, I'm meeting my parents, your eyes and ears need to constantly be open because anything can be turned into a joke, into a set. It can be borrowed to be added to another thing that you're writing about. So as comedians, all of us, not just me, we're all sort of constantly working. An idea strikes, you just take your phone out, type it in your notes, and it's there. And you revisit it 3 months later, and you're like, oh, I thought of this, and you sort of put that in. The other thing I actually want to say is that I'm expert at giving like gyan about what I do and this, but I very seldom practice my own stuff that I tell other new comics or new people who are coming out. I give them this advice, but I don't do it myself. But I think one of the main creative processes that you have to keep doing whatever it is. So whether it's you're creating content, you're going up and doing stand-up, you're writing, like with anything in life, the more you keep doing it, the better you get at it. And as comedians, especially now, you're in the COVID time, right? I've not done a live show in 13 months. That's a long time to not be on stage. I've been doing shows like this over Zoom in my boxers, but it doesn't have the same vibe as being on stage and doing it. So one part of the process to continuously sort of keep writing and be at it so you don't lose your sheen, so to speak. Other than that, I don't really follow a process. Usually before my show, I'll sort of just take some time to myself in the green room. I like, because my voice gets really hoarse, so just have a little honey and hot water and just do a little bit of breathing. That's about it. But then I just go up on stage and I have fun. There is no real, okay, I wake up in the morning and then I do this, and then the afternoon I do that, and then no process. I think one thing I would tell anybody watching who's trying out to be a comedian is make sure you're having fun, because unless you're having fun, nobody watching you is having fun. That's the advice I had gotten, I think on my 5th show by this a British comic called Imran Yusuf. I was backstage and he was hosting that night, and that was my first time at the Comedy Store, which is a big place for any comedian to sort of go. So I asked Imran, I said, Imran, any tips on what I should do? And he literally told me this. He said, just go out on stage and have fun. Don't worry about whether this line is correct and that is correct and did you do this correct. No, just go out. They're your friends. You're in your living room. Just have fun. Just chat with them. And I think that was great advice, because automatically you sort of have this disarming ability then, because you are going out, you're having fun, you're smiling, you're enjoying. People love listening and watching people who are having a good time, because you end up vicariously having a good time through them, right? And the jokes and the act outs and comedy just makes it better. I think my process is just to have fun.
Absolutely. I think that's great advice, because you just don't need to care. You don't need to think who's sitting in the room and what's happening. Just have a good time. But tell me how, when you started, like you said, you were just a funny guy that you were like, okay, I'm going to give this a shot because I want an open mic, and look where you are today. I mean, it's amazing. And I'm sure there are a lot of people that look up to you and say, when back in the day, like even to be a blogger, for example, it was always a side hustle. The comedian was always a side hustle, but you've made it your career. You've made other things out of being a comedian.
Correct.
Do you think that people take it more seriously now? It's actually a career option. Could you think that courses could actually exist in colleges?
Yes. See, you can clearly see that people are taking it seriously because the amount of FIRs that are there against comedians. So, people, like earlier it was just like, oh, you're saying jokes. It was so tough for us to explain to our parents. So what do? You say jokes and you're getting money for saying jokes. They couldn't wrap their head around the idea of that being a career, right? Till the time I actually called them for one of my shows. It was a packed house and they watched it and it blew their mind to see 300 people around them laughing at stuff their son is saying. I think that day it sort of shifted even in their head. or even for that matter, like nowadays you have so many content creators, you have fashion bloggers, lifestyle bloggers, food bloggers. All of these are now mini industries that have become huge.
Yeah.
Again, with the advent of social media, internet access, availability to everybody, better connectivity, and just the sort of freedom to express yourself no matter who you are. Like, look at TikTok, right? A lot of people look at TikTok like, ew, dude, like, it's very... No, they do. There's a certain amount of bias that comes in people's minds when they used to look at TikTok. It's banned now, but like when it was here, they would look at it. But you see the amount
it
of
made
people...
a lot of careers. It made a lot of people
Shan,
get it.
it's incredible. I spent so much time laughing, but you know, when you actually get into it and think about it, I was watching videos of this farmer, okay, who's a dancer. Man, that guy can dance. That guy can dance. And it's so, you know, inspiring to see this dude who all day long is doing this and then takes out time and he's making videos, and he had many more million views than I, who's a supposed content creator comedian, did. So that just goes to show you that nowadays nothing is a side hustle. You can make it, you can start it off as a side hustle, but you can just very well make it a big hustle. Not even a hustle, like make it your
job. It's your
primary job. Absolutely.
primary career.
Yeah.
I totally agree. But tell me, you mentioned one thing which you said was FIRs, comedians like, so you put out content digitally, right? So even when I was launching the first episode, I was just thinking like, I hope I'm not said anything wrong. Today, people can pick up anything from anywhere and use it. Social media handles are all public, be it Twitter, be it Instagram, YouTube even. And honestly, it's not what you say, it's sometimes just how you say it, and it's taken in the wrong way.
Yeah.
Right? So how do you deal with trolls? How do you deal with even people that's picking up stuff? It's scary. I know we've had this discussion before.
Right.
It's scary. So what's your take?
So for me, like earlier, so no matter who you are or how nice a person you are, there's always some idiot with a keyboard somewhere like, oh, you're an ugly asshole. For no reason.
For no reason.
For no reason. This guy has no clue who I am. And like I'm saying actually a real life thing. There was this guy who would comment on each and every podcast video saying, Varun Thakur, you ugly asshole.
And you didn't anything wrong about anyone. Like,
So,
please.
apparently I'm an ugly asshole. And after the fifth time I saw it, I just started laughing. Right? Because at the end of the day, you know, there is so much more that you have to do and look forward to in life. If every single comment on every single social media platform bothers or irritates you, then you can't survive. You can't survive, because there is always going to be somebody who hates your guts, who is pissed off, annoyed, and they happen to watch your video at that point and they just unloaded everything on you for no reason. So one of the things I have to always practice is I never let bad comments affect me. I mean, it's easy to say not everybody is like that. You people sometimes genuinely get affected even if they see one negative comment, and I understand that, but I've always practiced that let people say what they want. Say it. Unless it's suddenly my friend Shan who's like, Varun, you know, you're this, then I'll call you up and Shan, listen, because I value your advice. You're a friend. Like, you know, you probably have constructive criticism in mind, which is why you said what you did. But with these other trolls, why are you going to waste your time? Like, there's already so much happening in your life that in the middle of that, if I take my phone out and I start crying about every comment, then I'm never going to get ahead in life. So I never let bad comments affect me. And at the same time, I also don't let the really good comments go to your head, because that's the other flip side, right? Because you get like instant fame, or you get a push, and you have all these people like, oh, Varun, love you and love your content, this, that, which is great. I do this for that. But I don't let that get too big, and I don't let that make me too big in my head, because more of either is wrong. So I'm happy with all the good comment and the feedbacks that I get. And I'm equally okay with all the bad stuff I get. In fact, on Twitter, when people troll me, I retweet it. Yeah.
Really?
I just retweet it.
Oh my God, that's amazing. I think that's a lesson for whoever's watching, because normally people are like banning and like...
I retweet, I like it. I'll reply to them saying, ha. If somebody has made a funny burn, right? It's a funny burn, I'll appreciate it. Like, that's hilarious. Because as comedians, you need to laugh at yourself. Okay, if you're going to be this like, oh, nobody can make fun of me, but I'll make fun of everybody, that's not how it works. So the minute you're okay laughing at yourself, self-deprecation, everything else becomes open game. So one is that. Also, I think we've reached a point where we're all anyway self-censoring now.
Yeah.
It's sad, but you are sort of self-censoring. Everybody thinks before putting out their content, oh, did I say this wrong? Did I say that right? How about this? Who will this offend? But you can't please everybody, right? Eventually, you have to put what you genuinely believe in. Although, I mean, with the way things are going, somebody can get pissed off that I made a joke on onions. Oh, how can you make fun of onions? You know, I'm an onion farmer, and then.
Yeah.
So now I can't pander to everybody's
Everyone.
likes and
Totally.
dislikes, you know. So
Totally.
eventually you got to go ahead and do what you're good at and what you genuinely like and feel. And then if fire happens, if fire
Let's
happens,
not hope for that.
but I hope
Let's
it
not hope for
doesn't.
that. Yeah, let's not hope for that. But I
Yeah.
want to ask you one more thing about positivity. Like, I'm all about positivity. Last 2 years,
Yeah.
I think, like you said, like, I'm not letting out external factors dictate. You know, it's very easy to say stay positive and like be positive and all this. When I hear, I'm just like, listen, it's your mental state. It's at that time. But I want to know, have you ever had a bad day on stage or ever a bad day on set? And then how do you really come out of that? Because having a bad day on stage is like, you know, these 300 people came to watch me
Yeah.
and I flopped. Like,
Yeah.
badly.
In fact, you know, it's happened. It's not happened once. It's happened 5, 10 times. You know, I think as comedians, you learn more from a bad show than you do from a good show, right? Because you go, you do a good show, everybody's laughing. What have you learned? Nothing. You just leave with like, oh, I'm the best comedian. I made people laugh. You go out and drink. But it's only when you have a bad show that makes you really think, okay, why didn't they laugh? What happened? Oh, maybe I didn't do this joke properly. Maybe I didn't do that act out properly. Maybe this wasn't the audience. So, right off the bat, I've learned 4 things that I wouldn't from a good show. And then you start working on those to then better yourself for the next one. I mean, not always it's your fault. There are times when you were just not a right fit for the audience you were taken for. Like I've done shows where people thought it was a Hindi comedy show, but I'm doing it in English and people are confused. So what I've started doing is every time I have a bad show, I just turn it into a set. So now I have about 15 minutes of jokes on all the bad shows that I've done.
You can use that as content.
I can use that as content, which is the
Yeah.
beauty of being a comedian. You know,
Yeah.
the worst things in your life, the most embarrassing, the most stupid things you've done or whatever can all be turned into content because hey,
Perspective, how you take it, right?
how you take it, and I'm laughing at myself.
Yeah.
And when people see I'm laughing at myself, they also laugh.
Yeah.
And it's great because they're like, oh wow, dude, guy's got guts. He's telling us about the most horrible show he's done.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I'm just trying
No,
to
I agree. I think it's perspective, right? It's,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not only as a comedian. I think it's in any business today.
Yeah.
Every interview of mine is not going to be the best, or
Yeah.
even say like every post that a very famous blogger puts up may not be the best, or even a businessman, right? Every speech he may give is not the best.
Correct.
But I think it's how you turn it and use that content in another way.
Absolutely. And I think what is more important is that again, easy to say when I have to answer a question, very difficult to follow yourself. That there are times when I have really bad days where I'm just sat in this chair thinking, oh, is my stuff funny anymore? Oh, I have not gotten that film that I had auditioned for. Oh, but you know, those guys got it and I didn't. So like any other field, you're going to have those bad days, but it's how you overcome those bad days that make the good days gooder. You know, like
Absolutely.
so now after having a rough last 2 weeks, if tomorrow I go do a show, I'm going to go with like a lot of energy and excitement just so that I can overturn everything that I've gone through before. You know, and that victory is sweeter and it's a lot of fun. So I think the point is to remember that you need to just trust your own process and just keep at it. And it's going to bear fruit at some point of time. It may not happen this week. It may happen 6 months later, but it will. But you just got to keep like at it.
Absolutely. But tell me, Varun, my last two questions before I let you go. But I want to ask you, you said you've not done a show in 13 months.
Yeah.
So you've done a live show in 13 months. That takes a lot. Like today, you know, as much as we all say COVID, but I know I've done an event because I just need to get out there and be like, I need to know my work is still valid, you know? Like,
Right.
Things are still happening. But do you think moving online is the future? Do you think that things like a kind of industry that you're in, do you think you could actually record and shoot online?
Absolutely. A lot of people have done it. In fact, I think adversity brings out the best in us, right? Say this time last year, we were all running around like headless chickens. We didn't know what's going to happen. We've been told 21 days, but the cases are doubling up every day. So We had no idea. But you see how beautifully every industry has adapted. And it's not just comedy. It's every, in fact, like this has been the best time for content creators from home, because everybody is at home, everybody is stuck to their phone. So the people who have mined gold in this year are people who've just sat at home, adapted to this new form of how life is going to be, and again kept at it. Not like, oh, it won't work. No, try it, do it, do it a few times. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. At least you'll know it doesn't work after you tried it. There's that really nice saying, right? You miss 100% of the chances you don't take, right? So you just do it and you see what happens. In fact, during this lockdown, we completely made our podcast digital now. Like earlier, we would meet in a studio, all of us together. We had camera, DOP, light, blue light. It was the whole shebang for a whole day, shooting 4 episodes. It was tiring. Now, obviously, during COVID, it's not going to happen, but we've shifted to Zoom and it's worked beautifully. Obviously, like, it's not going to have the same charm as the other one, but hey, at least you're able to sustain.
Yeah.
There are so many comedians who are doing shows day in and day out on Zoom.
Wow.
Yeah, it's opened up a newer audience. Think about this, Shan. Like when I do shows live, you're going to the, say, 8-10 metros, right? You're not going to the interiors. Now, when I do a show on Zoom, a person from Bombay, from Kaf Parade can join, guy from Allahabad can join, somebody from Guwahati can join, and somebody from the absolute interiors can join. They would never get that opportunity otherwise, right? I would never be able to reach to them otherwise, not immediately at least. But now, because of this, you have a whole new audience that has come in. So yes, I think it's going to be like that. It depends again on creator to creator or comic to comic, how much they enjoy doing it. I personally am a bigger fan of doing the shows live because I'm a very physical comic. Like I need to stand up, I need to walk. Like right now I'm so restrained. Even in an interview, I'm restrained.
You want to move around,
I want to move around because this automatically happens. Like right now you can't see, but my feet are just going all over the place. So
but
for
you
me,
are very animated even when you just talk, right?
Yeah.
So you're acting or performing.
Yeah. So then for me, obviously stage feels better. But if that's not happening, or if I'm not able to hit it back immediately, at least this gives me an opportunity to continue, so that I don't completely forget what I do for a living.
Absolutely. Absolutely agree.
Yeah.
Okay, last 2 things, Varun. Tell me, has there been an aha moment in your career till now? Do you feel like, okay, this was amazing and like I've like basically ticked off something off my dream list?
Yes, I think a lot of them actually. I think going back, the first open mic that I did, that was actually quite I've said this story multiple times, but it is that moment that suddenly makes you realize that I am where I am right now because of that night. Think about this alternate history. What if I didn't go for that night? What if I didn't win it? What if I didn't have that confidence that eventually led me to coming here, right? So that was definitely one of the aha moments. Other than that, what else? I think the Vicky Varun special that I did for Amazon. I think that was.
I watched that live.
Yeah, and we shot it in Bandra. It's available on Amazon Prime for whoever's watching this.
I will. I'll link it.
I think that special also was very special for me because it really showed, because the entire Vicky bit was written in less than a month.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I got to do something different, right? We are doing stand-up. There's a lot of comedians, a lot of amazing, better comedians than I am. Then what am I bringing that's different to the table?
Yeah.
So, which is why for the first time you had a stand-up special which had half as me and half as another person who is a Snapchat character.
And people got so excited.
It was crazy.
I remember people were standing up and screaming.
Yeah. And for me, that was great as a performer, right? Because you live for moments like these.
Yeah.
I had my friends who were waiting outside, sending me pictures, saying that, dude, open the doors because look at the crowd outside. And like I talk about it, I'm getting goosebumps.
Yeah,
it was great because as performers, you look forward to that. You want to have that one moment where, people are dying to come, watch your work, cheer you, clap, laugh. So definitely that special would be a huge aha moment. Other than that, I think, again, Shaitan Haveli would be one. Me doing a big tour in the US, I think that also really helped, because then suddenly it opens up your mind a little bit more, because you're like, okay, I don't only work in India. I did about 20 odd shows there and had people come watch. My parents were there for my finale show in New York. So that's also like very
huge. Yeah, huge.
very proud moment. Like these are moments that really push you to keep excelling in what you do. And yeah, I think so far these have been, I'm just fingers crossed for more
Oh, yeah, lots
aha
more, lots
moments.
more. These, I'm so happy that you've named so many, because whenever I ask this question, people say, I may have one, but like I'm waiting for my aha moment. I'm like, dude, there's so much to be grateful for, and your aha
Yeah,
moments are many, right?
yeah,
It's not
for
just
sure.
that one big thing. It's
Yeah.
many, it's the things along the way.
It's the smaller things accumulated that make it moment,
Yeah,
so to speak.
yeah,
But I think it's very important to notice and address these smaller moments, because that's where you've learned something about
yeah,
yourself, about why you do what you do. So
yeah.
yeah, lots of moments.
So Varun, we spoke about everything: writing, your Netflix shows, you feature on Amazon, Vicky, of course. But you do have a very popular podcast, which is The Internet Said So,
Right.
and I love watching it because I think it's very relatable. So tell
Yeah.
me more about that.
So this actually started when we were our earlier group SNG, before we split. We used to do a podcast called The Big Question, and even that sort of came about us just sitting like, okay, what do we do now? So like, okay, let's start a podcast, because what does it take to start a podcast? Just bunch of people and mics and a camera. So we did it, and even that happened in a way where we were just putting it out, and suddenly one of the videos clicked. That spread out. It didn't become viral, but it spread quite a bit. That got us following, and we did about 120 episodes of that podcast before the group split. And then when I launched my own channel, I got in touch with the boys again, Adar, Kautuk, and Neville, and I told them, I said, listen, I want to start another podcast now. Obviously, Big Question is out, but here's an idea I have, and the idea is basically we all said chat about the most random, interesting, shocking, weird, absurd facts about various topics. That's it. So you pick out any topic, spies, and then just go Google, do a bunch of research, and chat about it.
Yeah.
The whole point of the podcast was to make it, like you said, a very relatable conversation. There is no like, oh, we are not experts, right? So we are, which is why it's the internet said so. It's stuff we found on the internet about
Yeah.
certain topics, and we're chatting about it. And we are now 81 episodes in. I think that's what's kept us
Wow.
also really occupied during the lockdown, because again, everybody's hooked to their screens. So anything that you can keep churning out more of, obviously has to be good content wise, will find an audience. And now we have a very, very strong audience base. It might not be in the millions, but these people who follow the podcast, like really follow the podcast. Like they know, because on the podcast, I mean, about 200 episodes now, counting the Big Question,
Yeah.
people who watch it know everything about Varun Thakur's life.
Yeah.
They know Varun Thakur's history, his school, college. They know about you guys, or they'll know about my family, or things I like, things I did, all the stupid shit I did. So now it's literally people who are watching it. They watch it because
Every
they know
episode.
Varun,
Yeah.
know Kautuk, they know another, and they know Neville. And I think we formed a really nice, tight community of people who genuinely enjoy watching it. We get a lot of amazing feedback saying, your podcast has helped us through. I mean, this is the one we get all the time, which is, I was going through a really bad phase, and what kept me sane throughout is watching your podcast and watching you guys talk. So, I mean, for any creator, no matter who he or she is, hearing something like that feels like, what, all those hours in front of the laptop and the editing and the blue and the blah, it actually makes a difference, even if it's a little bit, but makes a difference in somebody's life. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I think
Couldn't have said it better.
we love it. We love the number of people who are following it, and we're going to continue this for a long time.
The two episodes which I loved, actually, one was the Indian matchmaking, because
Yeah.
it's such a hot topic.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I watched it almost immediately, like when you
Yeah,
guys
yeah,
released it,
yeah.
and I was like, wow, this is
Yeah.
like a conversation with four guys
Yeah.
about every character,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
including Seema Auntie. So
Yeah.
it was fab. It was fab. And
amazing.
the second one was your recent one of Harry and Meghan's
Right.
program.
Yeah.
So I think that it's very relatable. It's not just for a certain age group. It's not for a certain kind of person. It's for
Yeah.
everyone who's just willing to
Literally,
say,
yeah. Because it's a conversation you're having with your friends. The other comment we get a lot of is that every time people watch the podcast and leave, people in their house ask them, who are your friends you're talking to? It literally sounds like that, because they're listening to it loudly on either their phone or the laptop or whatever, and other people in the house actually feel that their son or daughter is sitting and chatting
With
on a
somebody
Zoom
else.
call with friends, so that's the aim, and I think we've managed to hit that really well. So
Okay, so tell me what's next for Varun Thakur?
I would love to say there's a lot of stuff in the pipeline which I'm not
Just
allowed to
please
talk
use
about.
it.
Just yeah. No, there is in the pipeline, but in my actual pipeline, I've called a plumber for it. That's not what I'm talking about. But so at the moment, I'm again looking forward to going back on stage, like doing live shows. There's few things I'm in talks with that I unfortunately can't talk about, because if I don't get it, then it'll be quite, because I'm an expert, Shan, at this. Okay, my entire career has been me pointing at different film trailers and ads, saying, "Hey, you see that? I auditioned for it." But some other guy is doing it. So that's why nowadays,
Yeah.
if there is any good work that's about to happen, unless it's happened, I don't talk about it.
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, there are a few web series that I'm in talks for. I'm writing my own show.
Oh, lovely.
Because it's been a while since Shaitan released, and now I'm getting some khujli in my hand. I'm like, okay, get all your ideas out and start writing again. You got to do it for yourself. Nobody is there waiting to do it for you. You got to make it happen yourself.
Absolutely.
So writing a fiction show, testing, auditioning a lot, and yeah, planning a wedding. So that's going to be fun.
Yes, very excited about that. I think after Bhag Bini Bhag, you gave us the most exciting news, which is your wedding.
Yeah.
So focus on that.
Yes, fully.
Okay, I'm going to ask you one last question, which is very like it's pertaining to community, and because I've built a community, and that's the
Yes.
reason I started this. How important do you think networking is in your line of business? Do you network a lot? Do you recommend that someone who's looking to get into writing, acting, in comedy, do you recommend they network?
I feel networking is important across the board. It's not in any field. Think about any field you can, and networking is important, because the only way you can increase your reach or spread your reach is if you know people in whatever way or form, right? It might not help you immediately, but 5 years later, that same person might be in a position to help you in something you're doing. And because you had such a nice chat with him or her, then that they're like, oh, I know Shan. Because I think, by the way, you're asking me that, I should ask you that, because you are the absolute queen of doing it, and you're not doing it. I think, Shan, why it works so well for you, because there's a genuineness attached to it. There is no ulterior motive that I'll be friends with this person because his dad is this big industry. No, it's not that. And I think that's when the best stuff happens, when you are just connecting with people on a human to human basis, person to person basis. There's no like, oh, I'll talk to her and then 5 years later she's going to help me out. No, you just have genuine human connection. I think it's important for any field. In fact, you should network even with people who are not from your field. Why would I limit to networking only amongst comedians or actors? I'm networking with people who are working in fintech. Why? Because someday it might help me.
Never know.
And even if it doesn't help you, you end up learning something. I think that's very important. You may have met like 100 people, and each person has said something or showed you something or informed you about something that you had no idea about. So not only have you made a personal connection with that person, but you've also learned something. So I think networking is probably the most important thing. Like even for me right now, there's the reason I'm getting auditions is because these are the casting directors who I tested with like 7-8 years ago, but I've managed to make a personal relationship with them. So tomorrow, if there is anything that they feel I fit for, I will get a call for an audition at least.
Yes.
They are not going to guarantee a role because it's not in their hands. But if they feel I fit the character, they'll call me for an audition.
Yeah.
That is happening because you've kept that connection going. You've maintained that relationship.
I think that's
it's very, very important. And I think for me, I'm a very social person in any case. So I love making friends. I love chatting with people. So networking sort of comes naturally. But I think when it's done organically, just by making a personal connection, I think that has a far-reaching effect.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think like you said, it's like one foot in the door, right? Because you've already
Absolutely.
5 years ago. And I won't use the word hate, but I just don't like it when people use networking in such a negative connotation. I'm like, why is it negative? It is such a positive thing. And I think you explained it brilliantly. But before I let you go, Varun, I have to tell you, even though we're chatting like this over Zoom and recording this, anyone that's watching this, Varun is the most genuine human being from where he started to where he's gone today. You've never forgotten the people that you grew with. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you said, you're social. You are friends with everyone that you met from day one. I mean, I met you in college, not in school.
Yeah.
We're all so very much in touch. And if anyone
17 years, Shan, we've been friends
Yes.
now.
And
17
anyone
years.
asks you for anything, Varun goes out of his way to help. So, Varun, I only wish success for you, and you know that.
Thank you, Shan.
Thank you for being on my.
No, I'm so glad that we did this. And honestly, I'm saying it again. I don't see any better person than you to do it. Thank you so much. And yeah, one last thing for you. I think you are an absolute inspiration, Shan. You have always been the sweetest, nicest, most genuine person I have met. And I'm not saying this. I will say this even off camera. I'll say it to you in person. I'll say it even when you're not there. And you know that our entire group feels that we've seen that genuine warmth, and this is just when you're around you, when we are around you, we just feel happy. And I think that's an amazing quality for any person to have, regardless of what else is going on. I think
Thank you.
yeah, so
Trust
thank
me,
you for being amazing.
I feel the same way about you, Varun, because we don't meet as often, but I think our group really motivates each other and
Absolutely.
inspires each other. I have to tell you, who's a bigger fan of Varun than me is my mother. She will constantly watch his videos and share them with her friends on DM. So I think she was very excited when I said that I was interviewing you.
So sweet.
And must be definitely telling them that the next interview is Vicky Malhotra. So
Yes, if you want to ask any Vicky questions also, you also can have, not a problem.
give us one more line in Vicky Malhotra before we sign off.
Yes, hi guys, Vicky this side. You also was watching the Shan show. It's a very pretty fantastic show. And guys, networking is very, very important. And nobody knows networking more than myself. I know every networking. I know Vodafone, Jio, Idea, Airtel. I know all networking. Oh, we're talking about different network. Oh, okay.
Yes, Vicky.
Cool. I'll get my dad to talk to you.
Thank you, Varun. Great.
Thank you, Shan. Thank you. This is
Bye.
amazing.